Today, we are diving deep into one of the biggest shakeups the art world has seen in, well, maybe forever: tokenization. And look, this isn't just another fleeting trend. We're talking about a fundamental rewrite of what it means to create, own, and sell art. It's about making ownership programmable, transparent, and frankly, more democratic. For any creator, collector, or investor out there, this is need-to-know stuff now. So let's get right into it. And just to put this all in perspective, take a look at this number. The global NFT art market is on track to explode to nearly $46 billion by 2033. This has moved way beyond just quirky digital collectibles. What we're watching is the birth of a whole new art economy, one that plays by a completely different set of rules and opens up a world of new opportunities. And hey, this isn't just coming from a few people in the crypto space. When the CEO of BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, says something like this, you listen. This is a massive signal of an institutional shift. The big players in finance aren't just watching from the sidelines anymore. They're actively building the future. Tokenization is officially moving from the fringes right into the mainstream. Now, this is where it gets really exciting, especially for artists. Think about the old way, right? An artist sells a piece, gets paid once, and that's it. If that piece later sells for 10 times the price, the artist sees zero of that upside. Well, with tokenized art, you can literally program royalties into the art itself. This means every single time your work is resold on a secondary market, a percentage automatically goes right back to you. It's a perpetual revenue stream hard-coded into your creation. All right, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to start by decoding the tech. Then we'll explore the digital marketplace. From there, we'll jump into a super practical guide for creators, cover the new rules you need to know, and finally, we'll take a peek at what the future holds. So how does all of this actually work under the hood? It's really important to get a handle on the tools that are making this revolution possible. We're talking about NFTs, blockchains, and smart contracts. Let's start with the absolute basics. At the core of everything is the non-fungible token, or NFT. The easiest way to think about it is like a digital deed or certificate of ownership for an asset. It's recorded forever on a blockchain. Now, for the tech-savvy, most art NFTs use standards like ERC 721 for one-of-a-kind pieces, or ERC 1155 for a series of prints. And because its entire history is public, it basically solves age-old problems like forgery and proving who owned it and when. It's all right there on the ledger. That term, non-fungible, sounds a little intimidating, but the concept is simple. It just means something is unique and can't be swapped for an identical item. A dollar bill, that's fungible. You can trade my dollar for your dollar, and we both have the same thing. But the Mona Lisa, that's non-fungible. There is only one. An NFT gives a digital file that same one-of-a-kind quality, that verifiable scarcity. And this is the real magic right here. It's all powered by smart contracts. These are basically just little programs that run automatically when certain conditions are met. So when an NFT with a royalty clause gets resold, the contract just executes. It does the math, and boom, the payment is sent right to the artist's digital wallet. No middlemen, no chasing invoices, no delays. It's pretty incredible. And this same tech is what allows for things like fractional ownership, where a bunch of people can co-own a single piece of expensive art. Okay, so we've got the tech basics down. Now let's look at where all of this comes together, the marketplace. Getting a feel for this new landscape is absolutely crucial if you want to find your footing. Like we touched on earlier, this growth curve is just, wow, it's steep. We're talking about going from around 3.3 billion today to a projected 46 billion in less than a decade. That's a growth rate of over 30% a year. And this isn't just driven by hype anymore. It's being fueled by more serious collectors who are focused on the art itself, plus the arrival of major institutions. So where is all this happening? Well, on platforms like these. You have OpenSea, which is kind of like the massive open-to-everyone eBay for NFTs. Then you have more exclusive, curated platforms like Super Rare, which feels more like a high-end art gallery for single-edition works. Foundation is also highly curated, often working on an invite-only basis. The key takeaway here is that there's no single best place. The right platform for you depends entirely on your work and who you're trying to reach. Which brings us to the playbook. Whether you're a visual artist, a musician, or even a writer, how do you actually take your work and turn it into a tokenized asset? Let's walk through the exact steps you need to take. Your first big decision is which blockchain to build on. Ethereum is the original and most established, but its transaction fees, or gas, can be pretty high.
Because of that, we've seen a huge rise in alternatives like Polygon and Solana. They offer much, much lower costs. We're talking sometimes less than $1 to mint, and they're faster, which makes them a really great option, especially for artists who are just starting out.
The actual process of creating an NFT is called minting, and it's probably more straightforward than you think. You can really break it down into 5 key steps. First, you get your artwork into a high-quality digital file. Second, you pick your blockchain. Third, you set up a digital wallet, something like MetaMask. Fourth, you choose your marketplace. And finally, you just upload your file, add your title and description, decide on your royalty percentage, and pay the fee to mint it. That's it. Okay, so you've minted your first NFT. Job done, right? Not even close. Creating the token is really just the first step. To actually succeed, you have to get good at the rest of the game, the legal stuff, the finances, and maybe most importantly, building a community.
This is probably one of the biggest points of confusion, so let's clear it up. When someone buys your NFT, what do they actually own? Well, in most cases, they own the token itself, that digital certificate of ownership. They do not automatically own the copyright or the intellectual property of the art. The artist keeps those rights, unless it's explicitly written into the sale. This is a super important distinction for both creators and collectors to get right. And that leads to a few other critical things you have to keep in mind. First, intellectual property. Make sure you're not using any copyrighted material in your work. Second, taxes. You need to figure out how your income, both from the initial sale and those ongoing royalties, is going to be taxed. They can be treated differently. And finally, be aware of the contracts. Read the platform's terms of service and know that even smart contracts can have bugs. You've got to do your homework here. Now, beyond all the tech and legal stuff, there's the social layer. And honestly, this might be the most important part of all. Just look at this stat. Nearly 80% of collectors say the community around an artist influences their buying decisions. That is massive. In this world, art isn't just something that hangs on a wall. It's the centerpiece of an active, vibrant community. Your success is often tied directly to how strong that community is. So how do you build one? Well, the playbook is pretty clear. You need to be active on platforms like Twitter or X and Discord. You need to share your process, not just the finished piece. You've got to actually talk to people, engage with them. And collaborating with other artists is a fantastic way to grow. This isn't just marketing. It's about turning people who watch your work into people who are invested in your journey.
So where is all this heading? The potential is obviously huge, but it's really important to have a clear-eyed view of what's next. And that means looking at both the challenges and the incredible opportunities on the horizon. Let's be real, it's not all smooth sailing. The market can be incredibly volatile. The regulatory rules are still being figured out across the globe. There are real debates and technical issues around how to enforce royalties everywhere. And for artists who aren't super techy, the learning curve can still feel pretty steep. Acknowledging these hurdles is the first step to getting past them.
But looking ahead, you can see a pretty clear path forming. In the next couple of years, expect to see more NFTs that actually do things, giving you access or special perks. A little further out, you'll see deep integration with the metaverse and virtual reality. And by the end of the decade, the lines between the traditional and digital art markets will probably all but disappear, with blockchain becoming the gold standard for proving ownership for all art. And that leaves us with the big final question, doesn't it? This technology gives creators all these incredible new tools, more control, direct access to a global audience, ongoing royalties. But will that be enough to truly democratize an art world that has always been run by gatekeepers? The tools are here, but what we all choose to build with them, that's what will define the next chapter for art.